In 2018, the United States imported $3.2 billion worth of goods from Pakistan.
For centuries, the notorious practice of slavery has had a substantial influence in the third world marketplace. Children especially are exploited into this practice through the debt of parental figures. The years in which children can be enslaved are from infancy to adulthood. The factory conditions were not appropriate for any human, no matter the age, with 12 to 14-hour days consisting of grueling labor, harsh work environments, malnourishment, abuse, and death. Most children took on a mental and physical toll. Children who specifically worked as carpet weavers constantly inhaled chemical and wool exhaust, which led to illnesses such as emphysema and tuberculosis. If the children behaved poorly, caused a mistake, and even began to develop the illness, they were subject to a beating or wall hanging for numerous hours. Oftentimes, children would conspire an escape plan, but the pashagi, or overseer, would manipulate the servants to not attempt a breakout by threatening to throw the child into scalding oil. If an escape was made, the children at fault would be chained to machines for hours with no food or water and beaten till close to death. While the harsh reality caused countless to lose hope, a few sought to break free and rebel. While this popular practice continues in certain areas of Asia, Africa, and South America, one young Pakistani courageously broke the silence. This is the story of Iqbal Masih, who took a stand against child slavery and tirelessly advocated for the education of the disregarded youth in third world countries, changing the lives of thousands of children around the world. Iqbal Masih is 4 years old, living with his single mother in a lower-class neighborhood in Meradike, Pakistan. While many children around the world at this age are preparing for school, Iqbal and others in the same situation face gravely opposite circumstances. Masih's mother fell into considerable debt to pay for the eldest brother's wedding, and the family was forced to resort to more extreme measures: peonage. At such a young age, Masih could not comprehend how drastically his life was about to change. His mother came to the conclusion that by selling their young son to a small carpet factory located in the Punjab province of Pakistan, their financial obligation would be fulfilled. This debt of 600 rupees, roughly $8, would result in Iqbal's enslavement with little hope of freedom. The fraudulent actions of these factory owners made it nearly impossible for the child slaves to fulfill their debt obligation due to the ever-increasing interest rates, apprenticeship payment, room, and board charges. The moment young Masih began working at the carpet factory, he rebelled.
He was a nuisance from the moment he learned to talk with his endless questions.
Whether it was talking back to his master, planning ideas to one day run away, or daydreaming of the life he could have had, he was constantly proved by his bravery. Even with the abiding threats from the pashagi, he constantly resisted the inhumane barriers that cost the bondage slaves their childhood. With little food, a great deal of workers for this brutal industry suffered stunted growth. As Iqbal's age increased, his body mass continued to be one of a 4-year-old. Due to his diminutive size, the master forced the young child to do extremely dangerous jobs in cramped areas. After 5 horrendous years of working in the humid, hazardous, and abusive peonage industry, Iqbal decided to break free. He organized a successful escape with a couple of his fellow slaves. Even with the recent inclusion of the Employment of Children Act of 1991 and the Employment Act of 1992, the government did not implement the laws and alert the public or indentured servants of this recent addition in which child and debt labor was abolished. The majority of the public disregarded the newly established labor laws. Nearly all factories had rewards for runaway slaves, which accumulated to a large quantity of money. Immediately, the children reported to the police the inhumane conditions they had been subjected to for numerous years. Following the report, the corrupt officer immediately returned the children back to the factory to resume work. The majority of the police force judgment was clouded by the amount of money the slave masters were willing to pay for the runaways as rewards. From the moment the children were back in custody of the slave owner, they suffered inhumane abuse, such as being chained to machines, burned, and cut as punishment for their actions. That setback did not destroy Iqbal's plans for the future. It lit the flame for his want of systematic reform. The Bricklayers Foundation and Bonded Labor Liberation Front was having a rally in support of educational rights for the Pakistani citizens and promote the newly founded laws, in which the indentured servants could be freed. Eventually, word came to the factory about the event and the opportunities that were present. Iqbal decided to risk his life for the small chance of gaining freedom or advocacy for him and his peers. Once arriving to the protest, Masih was greeted with hundreds of children just like him, trapped, abused, and hungry for freedom. The speaker announced that those indebted to factories were legally free with the newly enacted laws. Making his way through the crowd, Iqbal went on stage and shared his gruesome story to the hundreds of onlookers. While his story was like many, Iqbal was not timid to break the barriers surrounding his debt and how society viewed him. He spoke with passion and a thirst for justice. The founder of the Bonded Labor Liberation Front, Ahsan Ullah Khan, quickly saw his potential and decided that the 10-year-old boy would be the face of the ever-growing anti-slavery movement in Pakistan. Immediately after the rally, Khan began the legal process to free Masih from his debts, introducing him to a proper education and the preparation of Iqbal's leadership in the revolt. Within 2 years, he completed a full 4-year education program and began his advocacy of universal education, stating with a famous motto, "Children should have pens in their hands, not tools." He spoke on behalf of the thousands of children still trapped in the arms of enslavement. Masih continually grew his knowledge on the legality of enslavement and attended numerous rallies with the goal of enlightening citizens on the effects of child servitude. He developed strong relationships with press in the United States who helped him gain global attention and recognition on the horrors that face Pakistani children. With Iqbal's stunted growth and innocence, he began high-risk tasks of entering the factories to empower the children to escape. He would sneak into the factory, fitting in with the rest of the small children, and speak with them about the possibilities that await outside of the debt prison. Iqbal's grueling work soon paid off, with an estimated 3,000 escapees increased after he entered the fight. Masih was fully aware of the cost of his actions and was in constant danger from the infamous businessmen with wicked agendas. During his many visits to the individual factories, Masih was constantly recruiting other Spitfire children who were willing to fight against the supporters of the ever-growing issue of child slavery. Iqbal frequently returned to Pakistan when he was not giving speeches and visiting outreach programs centered in the U.S. During the holiday season, Masih and a few friends were returning from a rally and it took a dark turn. A large truck came from behind and swiftly shot the 12-year-old boy. His injuries proved fatal, and all around the world, the media presented the tragic news.
Battled child labor, boy, 12, murdered.
The child slavery mafia was the biggest suspect, but authorities concluded a poor local farmer accidentally shot the young boy dead. Countless of locals and witnesses say the farmer was framed into prison for the murder by the factory owners who targeted Iqbal. Local press released information about the young martyr's death, which quickly received global media attention. Following his death, Masih's colleagues from the media in the United States hastily responded to reports of his death. One of these reporters, Jennifer Margulis, believed that her and her fellow reporters caused the assassinations by globally sharing Iqbal's story, stating, "Iqbal's dead. I can't bear to think it's somehow our fault." Margulis's company was one of the first in the United States to cover Iqbal Masih's story and create a documentary about his life. She believed that with this action, Masih's young life was put in the final strike of danger. Iqbal's death caused a wave of uproar all around the globe and inspired those to finally take the final step to advocate for children's rights. Following the assassination, a school was placed in Masih's hometown in his name to honor his brave fight that eventually cost him his life. Iqbal Masih, at the age of 10, risked his life to advocate against the horrors of the peonage industry and spoke for the thousands who were trapped in a never-ending system of abuse. He shined a light on the dark corners of an industry supported by you and me and countless of others. Livelihood relies on the production of goods from countries who exploit children for cheap and dirty labor. We will look through our own closets. Even with the United States abolishing child servitude and labor back in 1938, we, as a society, have supported the systematic oppression of child slavery by purchasing products from the industries that still participate in this peonage.